My 38-year-old brother-in-law and I met at college. After a year together, he asked me to go on a date, but I said no. His words to me were sewered and thin. My best friend told me it was just harmless words from a guy who was drunk and got turned down. What turned me off about him was not my lack of depth, but his awkwardness and attitude. My friend was right, though, because he never bothered me again or even looked my way. Other than these words, I've never felt uncomfortable in college because of him. He and I met again when my baby sister, a woman in her 20s, told me he was her boyfriend. For some reason, I didn't even recognize him at first. It had been 9 or 10 years since we last talked. He was mad that I didn't know him and told me I was lying. He seemed to treat my sister well, and she seemed happy. At first, my family wasn't sure about him. He has a lot of money and takes her all over the world. He was also nice to her. After going out for a year, they got married and now have 3 kids. I met my now ex-boyfriend, a 45-year-old man, 5 years ago. My brother-in-law said the only strange thing about me was that I was still as shallow and superficial as I was in college. In the moment, I thought it was a joke. But now that I know the truth and am looking back for warning signs, this was probably a big one. He was always nice, and there were never any signs that he didn't like my husband. He was always alone, so the fact that he didn't want to be friends with my husband and me didn't seem strange. A year ago, my husband came home and showed proof that I had been cheating on him. The guy called him and had pictures of me on his phone, among other things. Someone told my husband that he didn't know I was married at first, but as soon as he did, he called my ex. He even told my husband he was sorry. Nothing I said or did made my husband believe me. I've never met this guy. We are still getting a divorce because he left me. Then that guy called me yesterday. He said sorry for what he did and that he is friends with my brother-in-law. He sent me talks that my brother-in-law had with other people about me over and over again for years. He said I didn't even give him a chance and only judged him by how he looked, and he has never forgotten that. He called me a C in that chat, both with this guy and in groups with his friends. They planned this attack, and my brother-in-law got my pictures in some way. This guy called me now because he felt bad because his brother-in-law was still mean and angry, even though my marriage is over, especially after hearing that I was on a date last weekend. So the friend thought he didn't help his friend and instead hurt other people. I don't know what to do. For some reason, my brother-in-law has been happier and friendlier since my split. Now I know why. At first, I thought he felt sorry for me and wanted to help me. But now his jokes about me becoming an old maid with cats as pets sound like they were meant to be taken seriously. I don't want to make my sister's life worse. She's happy with her husband. I'm not sure if I can either with her husband. I'm not sure if I should tell my ex. It breaks my heart that he didn't believe me. He is the love of my life, and I love him very much. I feel bad that he didn't believe me, though. He is also a victim, so he might need to know to put this behind him. Opie needs to tell everyone what his brother-in-law did. This isn't just some small thing. If we don't stop him now, what will he do next? Will Opie do the same thing again if he gets married again? Also, Opie's sister should know who she married, and Opie's ex should know he was lied to. He did not believe me, and I will not forgive him. But he does need to know what happened. Now let's hear what the community thinks. The red-clad girl says, yes, you should tell your sister her husband is crazy. You should also clear your name with your ex, even if you don't want to go back to him. You should also go to the police over your pics he shared without consent. Nomad 17 states, first get a written or taped confession from the guy and also the screenshots of the messages. Then contact your lawyer for legal options, as in suing brother-in-law. Where I am, defamation is very serious because your reputation affects your career. Seek advice from trusted friends or your parents. If it was me, though, I'd plead like crazy for the evidence and go after brother-in-law. If he can do that to Op, he can do anything to sister. Meg 38 states, he destroyed your marriage and you're questioning whether to blow up his life or not. Your husband needs to know what a giant mistake he's made, and your sister deserves to know what kind of man she married. He's been obsessed with you for years and clearly not a great husband to her. Grow a spine and stand up for yourself. 5 years ago, my ex cheated on me with his current wife. My ex-boyfriend and I have 3 boys, ages 11, 10, and 8. Ex's wife cheated on her ex with my ex and now has a daughter and a son with him. They've said everything like, it was meant to be, and how great it is that the kids all have a bigger family with you, etc. It's over for me. The affair partner in my marriage gets to call herself my kid's stepmom, which hurts a bit. I'm not sad that my ex is gone, though. For 18 months, the man slept with her behind my back before her husband and I found out. When the kids are around, I'm polite. But when they're not, I don't care about them. Everything took place in front of my ex's parents. They didn't like him at all because he cheated. He was told by his mother-in-law that he ruined the basis for his children, that it's never easy to leave a partner, and kids already have a hard time with divorce. But when parents turn on each other, they take something away from their child that they can rarely get back. Parents who care about each other and want the best for each other even though they are not together. They stayed close to me and didn't invite my ex-wife over at all. Since then, they haven't been a part of ex's life or that of his stepchildren. She really doesn't like it. A few weeks ago, my youngest son got an award at school. Ex and his wife were there, and so was I. My parents and my ex's parents came over for a short time, talked to my son, then to me, and then left. Ex's wife came up to me to complain. "It's not fair," she said, "and her kids don't get why. Her ex's family doesn't care about them or let them see them. But they know that my kids are seeing someone. My ex's family loves me," she said. "It hurts her to feel not good enough." To be honest, I first rolled my eyes and then laughed because she seemed to think I would feel sorry for her or help her. She got mad when people laughed at her. She and my ex-spouse both told me I was rude. If I'm going to be mean to her, I should at least care about my kids. But I'm not when I enjoy seeing her hurt. Some of me doesn't care and thinks I'll be okay as long as my kids don't see it. Along with that, I sometimes wonder if it was rude of me to laugh at her. Am I the jerk? What did she believe would happen? The ex-spouses of that person would be glad to know that he and she are both cheaters. Even though it's sad that her feelings are being hurt, it's not a surprise that they don't want anything to do with her. I really feel bad for her children because they are hurting because of the bad choices their mother made. It's not Op's fault, though. Now let's see if everyone else agrees with me. Barty Wine states, "Not the a-hole, so like she ruins your marriage, I know he did as well, but wants you to help her out? The nerve. And she's lucky you just laughed. Proud of you for not saying what you really wanted to say after all this time. Not the a-hole." Castle of AR states, "Not the a-hole. Your in-laws sound like great people. They know who the mother of their grandchildren is and have never given up on you. The ex's new wife is just upset that there are consequences for their actions, and wants everyone to forget that she and your ex both tore apart their respective families and tried to patchwork their own big family. If you're civil in front of the kids, like you say, then I'm fully on board with your reaction. She and her kids already have 2 sets of grandparents outside of your in-laws. She just doesn't want the guilt of doing any wrong." Wonderful Horror 7315 states, "Not the a-hole. I still relish the day my ex's side piece called me crying because he cheated on her, like I would care or be surprised. With her, I laughed and laughed, still laughing, never stop laughing." A few years ago, Opie, a 26-year-old woman, had an affair with a 42-year-old married man. When we first met and hung out, I had no idea he was married. I certainly looked him up on social media, and while he did have pictures of his kids, there was no word or picture of a wife at all. About a month after we started dating, I found out that he was married. But he told me it was only a legal marriage, and that they pretty much lived different lives, but agreed to stay married until the kids were older. They had a business together, but she ran it, and he just helped out financially. In that moment, I knew I probably shouldn't believe him, but I was sure it was true. I was in my early 20s and really liked him. I think I was almost in love with him. I felt great after talking to him. Now I know I should have stopped it right away, but I didn't know what I was getting myself into at the time. I was hooked on the greats, the care he gave me and the places he took me. I felt unique. I was so gullible. About a year after I started seeing him, I got pregnant. I was always very careful not to get pregnant, but when I was with him, I did stupid things that could have hurt me. That's how crazy in love I was with that guy. I would agree to do almost anything he asked, even if I knew it was a bad plan. I believed I loved him. It wasn't on purpose that I wanted to get pregnant. Even though I dreamed about being married to him and having a family, I knew that wouldn't happen as long as he was living with his real wife. There was no plan for me to get pregnant so that he would leave her for me, even though I wanted us to be a normal pair. It surprised me how happy I was to be pregnant with his child. I wanted that child. As soon as I learned I was pregnant, the thought of having the child of the man I loved made me feel very happy. I knew he wouldn't feel the same way, though. When I told him I was pregnant, he told me I couldn't have the child. Though I thought he would respond this way, I was shocked and devastated when he didn't. It hurt me deeply. He said he would pay to go somewhere fun for the whole weekend. What the heck? They also promised to buy me something nice if I got rid of the baby. He told her that he didn't want any more children and that he couldn't be a dad to another child while telling everyone that he and his wife were still happily married. He agreed that I would do what he asked, and we planned for him to pick me up and take me somewhere out of town to do it. That night I was all packed up for when he picked me up, but I began to feel very scared and unsafe about the whole thing. That's why I checked myself into a hotel, to hide. I couldn't go with him. I texted him that if he agreed to leave me alone, I would never talk to him again and would never name him as the father or go after child support. He tried to get me to do what he wanted at first by being nice. When I didn't give in, he told me some mean things and told me I should never talk to him or show up at his door again. I now have a 2-year-old. It's been hard at times, but altogether we're doing as well as we can. I kept my promise not to name him as the father or ask for child support. He used social media to talk to me, but now she's no longer married to him. I should talk to her. She learned about me and told me she split up with him 6 months ago. She wants her kids to know their brothers, and she wants my kid to know his. I find that strange. I still haven't replied to her. I'm not sure how to go about this. How should I answer this? If she's telling the truth, I wonder if I'm being selfish by not looking into ways for my child to get to know his brothers. I wouldn't feel the way she does if my husband had a child with someone else while we were married. It's a little strange that she called Opie because I don't think he told her about Opie. I'm not sure how she found out. As a matter of fact, I would block her without answering if Opie's gut told her to. Opie's gut has helped her before, so she should believe it now. Even though it would be great if they could get along as a family. Is that really the case? I agree that it's a little strange that she just showed up like this. It looks like they are trying to trick you, or you could just wait. His child is only 2 years old, but when he grows up, he will want to know more about his dad and brothers. When the child is older, Opie should tell him the truth. Then the child can decide for himself. Now let's hear what the community thinks. Psychological Cry 333 asks, Op, are you sure this is truly his ex-wife contacting you? Could it be him using her account or fake account to initiate contact with you for some twisted reason? Please be careful and make wise decisions if and when agreeing to meet this woman and her kids. I know you want to do the right thing, just be very careful. Lenny Pixie states, since she knows and is divorced now, I would summon him for child support. Ask for a DNA test. The money is for your child. Your child deserves it. Eyeball Biting states, so many people telling you to go for it for the sake of the child and possible child support. But I would say that you have good instincts which served you well. Don't ignore them now. You are leading a happy life with your child. You have survived so far without his financial help. Letting her and the children into your lives will be inviting him back into your life too. You also don't know what her intentions are, or if it is even her who is contacting you. No matter what, it will be inviting him back into your life in some way. He made you feel unsafe and wanted you to get rid of your child. He also abandoned you and your child. He cheated on his wife and kids for a long time. He is not a good guy. I would say keep him out of your life. Continue as you are. I'm 34 years old and my fiance is 36 years old. We've been together for a while and just got engaged in December 2023. Before we got engaged, we started talking about wedding plans in August 2023, and our wedding party was pretty much set. My sister is 36 years old, my best friend is 35 years old, and his niece is 13 years old. His nieces are 6 and 4 years old and will be flower girls. As best men, his 2 best friends, ages 37 and 36. My nephew, 14, will be the best man, and my nephew, 10, and his nephew, 10, will be the ring bearers. Now, I'll try to keep this background story short. while still giving you enough information to make an informed choice. My fiancé had been married for 3 years before we met. They were together for 3 years before they got married. Since they used to be together, she slept with her ex-boyfriend and got pregnant to try to get back together with him. When he still turned her down, she tried to have a miscarriage several times but still had the baby. The child she had with her ex-husband was about 4 years old when they broke up. While she was younger, he did try to spend time with her, but as she got older, she started acting badly. She knows the difference between right and wrong, but she won't listen to adults. She will do something wrong on purpose, wait to be told to stop, and then keep doing it until she is yelled at. Then she acts like a victim. She picks on other kids and says mean things to them, like her cousins, nephew, and his family. At school, she fights all the time. She tells me all the time that she hates me and wishes I didn't exist. The list really does go on. My fiancé and I haven't had much touch with his ex-wife's child in the past few years, but his parents still say she is their granddaughter and get her at least once or twice a month, telling her dad he needs to come see her. To be clear, they are getting her up from the house of her biological father. They will not get married to me. Also, they will get her and bring her to family events, holidays, and their nieces' and nephews' birthdays without asking. The oldest niece asked them not to bring her to her birthday party because she is so mean to her and the other kids. They still took her. Now comes the "am I the a-hole" question. But my fiancé told me that she had to be at the wedding if all the other kids and his family were, or her feelings would be hurt. We had planned the party for months. I don't care if her feelings are hurt, and I'm okay with leaving her out because of how she treats everyone else. He parents will get her and bring her even if we don't ask her, so we both know she will be. So am I a jerk because I don't want my fiancé's ex-stepdaughter to be in my wedding party? Challenger Flat asks, why would your fiancé's ex-wife's affair baby even be invited to the wedding, let alone in the wedding party, especially since she's an unholy terror apparently? How do the grandparents even condone the behavior from this child? EJ104 states, not the a-hole. If your partner really believes it is imperative that this child be in the wedding, then your partner can deal with any misbehaviors that may occur by having the troublesome child in their wedding party. That child and this issue aren't yours to deal with. I would honestly consider uninviting the grandparents, assuming they bring the child. She adds, not the a-hole. You have every right to set boundaries, and you should not only have them but enforce them.